see the same type of play style coming out, or if we're going to see for a little bit more of a committed, standard tanky DPS meta team from Absolute Legends.
They need to play what they like to play. That was not a solid team composition for themselves as a team. And that's okay. You don't need to run what everyone else runs. You just have to run what will make you guys win. And at the end of the day, it does not matter what Moscow 5 runs, what clg.na runs. It matters what you run and if it works or not. If it works, keep doing it.
Yeah, very, very true. So we are going to see a Karthus and a Cassiopeia. Well, we're going to see a Cassiopeia ban. Karthus was available in the last game and picked up by Alexic. So I'm not going to be able to get him this time round. Urgot once again removed from AL, and this time they've actually got first pick. So not only do they not want to play against him, they don't want to play with him either.
And once again, the Shen coming out. I don't know. I think the bans are going to be nice for AL. They're going to go ahead and have that control for first pick. I feel that they have a good mindset of what they want to do now with that Karthus ban coming out. Now that we see Shen is gone, they're not going to be too worried about the global presence. They should have a decent focus coming out.
Now, Ari removed from the pool as well, so we've seen Alexic actually playing a couple of Aris in the last week or two and playing so strong with him, but there's, Galio still available, Twisted Fate still available, a lot of champions who we've seen him playing several times, and of course Jax is still in the pool, so, maybe Darian's going to be picking up Jax a second game in a row.
I feel if the Jax comes out, we will see a Malphite come out. Nocturne. There we go. That is a pick that will fit with Absolute Legends style. It's going to have that early gank presence, but rather than going for a different style of team, he will keep being that gank presence throughout the game. So this should fit Absolute Legends really well. I do like that Amumu if it comes out, actually, because it means if we do see commitments to team fights, Prox can always press that ultimate button, can always punish with an Amumu ult, which actually does really high damage. I don't know if you knew that. Amumu ult really hurts, actually.
Ballpark figures? Off the top of your head?
I want to say 200 to 400, but it has a 1-to-1 AP ratio, and Abyssal Scepter actually matches up with Amumu's passive really well, which is the MR reduction on auto attack. Oh. But no Amumu. It's quirky.
Not this time. Yeah, I've learned the hard way. Never get excited until that box goes grey. They always troll, but Alex is going to be playing Irelia in that top lane. And yesterday, when we seen him coming up against EC Eclipsia, he effectively single-handedly tore them apart. It was an amazing performance. And Darian playing really well with Irelia and those blades in the top lane.
Now, I like that pick. I think Irelia is kind of odd because she always kind of falls in, falls out. When she's out of favor, it's because the characters that are strong against her in lane are effective. Right now, those characters aren't too good. For example, Tryndamere, Rumble, they're not good picks. They're not solid common picks. That is a Varus. All right.
I like it. I'm very excited to see this. The reason I like this pick, I've seen the combination before. The Dazzle into a couple of hits of Blighted Quiver auto attacks, followed up by that piercing arrow. It's really good damage. Combine that with Dazzle and, with Shatter and Radiate, or Radiance, his ultimate from Taric. It's surprisingly good burst, not at the same level as Graves, obviously, but it's a really strong combination. And if Moscow 5 wanted to take a healer, they wouldn't be able to now, compliments of that hail of arrows. Reduces the healing to everybody underneath that in that small AoE.
Which actually why Nunu might be chosen right now for Moscow 5. That's going to be really cool, actually. I like the Nunu pick. So Nunu is a really situational support. You cannot run him in every lane. An example of a bad lane would be Ezreal, because Ezreal just ignores his attack speed slow and can actually use his own to slow down the enemy. So Nunu would go ahead, stop the sustained damage coming out from Varus. So if we do see a Dazzle come out, they're not going to be able to get max stacks to blow up with Varus' passive. If not, if they do stun Nunu, guess what? We're going to have a Corki with Blood Boil just shooting down Varus and Taric. So I like that pick. I do feel the lane can go either way still. It's all about the positioning, all about not being hit. And I do wonder if we'll see Ghost again.
And I love the pickup of Skana. We've seen Diamond Prox playing it a couple of times already. And if I'm honest, it has been very underwhelming. It hasn't been able to pick up the kills that I was hoping for or the plays that I was hoping to see. And it's all on the line now for Moscow 5. They lose here, that's it. They lose the best of 3 in the game. It goes to Absolute Legends. So Moscow 5 must be, I don't want to use the word confident, but They know what they're doing. They know what their champion selection is right now, and yeah, they need the win.
What is the mid lane? What is Alexich going to bust out? Anivia does not have any sort of consistent counter pick. Anivia, or Ari, is actually considered good against her, but she's banned out.
Yeah.
So Ziggs? All right, I don't trust that. I don't trust Ziggs. I'm sorry. I don't trust Ziggs picks because Ziggs is not a common pick.
Ziggs isn't too uncommon this side of the pond, but it tends to be for the specific team. Na'Vi, for example, they run Ziggs very, very often, and Morgana can work. Safe laning, use that black shield, get away from the flash frost, avoid the stun and some of the damage. But if Saliver is able to play Anivia properly, can probably shut down a Morgana. I've seen it done before. I actually seen it last night, in fact, where Expeke was doing it, and I think he was doing it against a Morgana Alexich as well, if I recall correctly. But it may be a Kassadin instead. And are we going to see Kassadin locked in this time around for Moscow 5? And it looks like it's going to be the case. Oh, last second pick.
It's Mordekaiser. All right, so Mordekaiser versus Anivia. This is not a common pick. I feel that I don't know how it's going to work out exactly. It's going to be a very passive farmland eventually. But Alexich can actually take quite a bit of damage from Anivia once she hits 6. If we ever see Saliver go ahead, use that RE combo onto Alexich, he's going to take so much damage, especially because you can catch him with his shield down every now and then. It's like catching him with his pants down. Takes quite a bit of damage. But I don't know. I have not seen Mordekaiser very often. Last time I saw it was actually played by Team Dignitas in the United States and played by Skara. And their goal was die like crazy because it doesn't matter if you die on Mordekaiser because you still have your ultimate and it's percentage damage. So this will be cool. I don't know, man. I'm excited for that bot lane. I'm excited for the mid lane. The only lane that's really common is going to be Jax versus Aurelia, and normally that kind of goes really passively. Eventually, the other will start to pressure. Jax can use his combo. Aurelia can start using her ult for damage, but it's not too exciting until one person gets an advantage.
So let's actually have a look how Alexich has ruined up his Mordekaiser. 15 AP, MR, Magic Pen, and some armor. So pretty standard. Mastery is 2190, so very, very offensive in the build. I've seen Alexich playing Mordekaiser several times in the past, and his farming abilities are phenomenal with pretty much any champion that he plays. And Mordekaiser is one of the better farmers in the game. I just don't think he's got the damage to really kill, the rebirth Anivia. That's really what I'm a bit nervous for in that mid lane, and exactly like you said, it's going to become just this passive farm fest. I want to see whether or not Absolute Legends can pick up kills in that bottom lane. The dazzle into the blighted quiver and whatnot, is it going to be enough to actually pick up kills in terms of summoner spells? Cleanse on Pucky style. And that's interesting. I mean, if you look at the amount of hard CC on behalf of Moscow 5, they've got a couple of pieces here or there, but there's nothing extremely, extremely powerful or stacked up. No Ash Arrow, although saying that you do have the Impale, you've also got the Mordekaiser ultimate, which is, I think that gets dropped by Cleanse.
It does not.
It's only Quicksilver, isn't
only
it?
Quicksilver Sash.
Yeah, it's only
actually the only CCs that are affected by Cleanse is going to be Skarner slow, Nunu slow, and Aurelia stun. Slash slow, I guess.
And the Impale? So, was that Quicksilver Sash as well?
Impale's Quicksilver Sash.
Yeah.
It's a suppression effect, so it's not affected. So that Cleanse is entirely for two things, Ignite and Nunu slow. And I like that. This is actually an aggressive choice to pick Cleanse instead of, say, Heal or something, because they're just going to go ahead, they're going to go for an engagement, and let's say they try and burst down Genja. What the problem is going to be if Gosu Pepper goes ahead and slows Pookie style, he won't be able to get enough stacks, he won't be able to proc his passive. So they're going to go ahead, they're going to get into a fight, we'll see a slow come out from Gosu Pepper, we'll see Pookie style cleanse it just to deal more damage. It's actually an aggressive cleanse pickup, which is weird to say, but I like it. It's cool. It's weird. It's random.
I'd also like to see the build. Yeah, I'd like to see the build that he's going for as well, because I've seen a couple of different Varus plays going for Phantom Dancer first, then following it into Bloodthirster or the Wriggles Lantern, for example, depending on how the lane's going. But he really needs that attack speed to pick up all the damage from that Blighted Quiver, and of course being able to land that consistent additional damage to get his stacks up. And of course his passive gives him the attack speed as well, so not focusing the attack damage early on, it doesn't actually hurt a Varus in that bottom lane.
So I want you to do something really quickly. I want you to look at the match history for Pookie style.
All right, let's have a quick look. If we can get there as quickly as we can. Ash and Ezreal.
There's a lot of defeat. Actually, not who we played, but the defeats in custom games. I feel that right now we actually have Absolute Legends coming in after a bunch of losses. And I don't know if you've ever solo queued and once you've lost and you keep losing, but I feel this might be a case like that where they've been scrimming, they have not been doing particularly well right now, and they may be getting hurt because of that. Because I don't want to bring up last game again, but the Absolute Legends we saw last game is not the Absolute Legends that I normally see. They're a better team than that, and I feel they may just be running on emotion right now. And this is a big game. This game matters quite a bit. They don't want to be out of this qualifier. I want to go to IPL5. They want to go to IPL5.
Yeah, it's also true. And also the amount of pressure on their shoulders coming up to, the big LAN over the weekend as well. So not only is it, losses in the cup, losses in practice or whatever the story is, it kills a bit of the spirit if you're prepping, you're training, you're practicing before a massive, massive LAN. So we'll have to see if they've got the right stuff to pull it back, because we're into game number 2. This is, of course, a best of 3. And we are watching Absolute Legends on the... wrong button there. On the left-hand side, facing off against Moscow 5 in the right-hand side. And let's see if we're going to see any early aggression this time round.
I mean, looking at the teams, I'd say the early aggression would come out from Absolute Legends just because there is no hard CC aside from Aurelia on Moscow 5. So we actually have Moscow 5 doing a spread to stay defensive. We have Absolute Legends going for this invade.
Yeah, exactly like you said. If they can land the Flash Frost and the Dazzle and potentially the counterattack is huge. Diamond Prox is in the face of everybody. Flash comes out from Super Ace, but it wasn't actually close enough, and a little bit of a herp-a-derp engagement there. Everybody just moves backwards.
I don't know what Diamond Prox was doing because he went in, he queued, and he immediately flashed away. It was really funny, but weird.
Yeah, so
the Flash is down.
Yeah, Flash is burnt, but it is burnt on Super Ace as well. So if they decide to put a little bit of aggression in that bottom lane, maybe they can pick something up onto Taric. But nothing, a little bit overextended, a little bit of aggression. Very, very nerve-wracking for Diamond Prox, making me nervous at this stage in the game. It sucks when you give away that super early first blood.
We have 2 wards placed on blue buff right now for Moscow 5. They're going to go ahead and just be kind of cautious. It looks like we actually have a race start for Diamond Prox, which I like just because it keeps them safe. And Moscow 5 does know there's a ward in that bush. They're just going to try and actually bait out Absolute Legends by being there, by taking their time and wasting it.
I'd like to see how Seliva's going to play this Anivia. I mentioned it to Studio just before we actually started the stream, but during the course of yesterday's Cup that I was shoutcasting, we managed to watch Expeke and we watched Alexic playing Anivia and playing Anivia phenomenally well. Not like, playing good or, as you would expect, playing immensely well. The Flash Frosts, the Crystallized Walls, etc. were really, really great.
Actually, really quickly, we have the invade coming out from Absolute Legends.
Genji did manage to get away, though. But did he burn Flash? No, didn't even burn Flash or heal, so not too bad. The steal does go down, though, and it gets picked up by Veggie, in fact. So no blue buff for Diamond Prox's Skarner this time round. And yeah, what I wanted to just mention is that I've seen a lot of some of the other AP mids playing with Anivia and playing really well with Anivia as well, surprisingly well. So Saliva, the pressure's on him now, and we'll have to see how this plays out going into LAN, of course, because Froggen was so well known for that Anivia play, but potentially the skill gap is, I don't want to use the word closing, but players are now practicing, putting in the hours they need to get good with the Cryo Birdie. So pressure on this top lane now. Kikis and Darien bashing heads against one another. Darien does have the early advantage though, because Kikis, he did invade that top lane. He moved all the way through to the red buff of Moscow 5. Took a bit of damage and was forced backwards. And nothing coming of it though. The mid
Fight's actually going all across the map. Look at bot lane. They've been going at it. Heals burned on Genja actually, and they're just fighting nonstop.
Well, if a huge engagement does pop out and I'm not yelling about it, just let me know. Because there's action everywhere. But it's all going to be whoever makes the biggest mistake first, there's something going to happen. So Super Ace landing some of those order attacks. And this bottom lane is super aggressive, actually. Screw the farming. Now we see Alexis. He's made his way down. Mace of Spades is going to come up if it's available. I don't think he's put a point into it. The Ignite is going to go first blood for Alexis, and there we go. Really, really nicely done. Mace of Spades into what I thought was a Phosphorus Bomb, wasn't it?
Mace of Spades, yeah. Actually, that final blow was an auto attack onto Pookie style, and I gotta say that was actually really well played from Moscow 5. Who expects Mordekaiser to gank at level 3? And they just took advantage of the fact that it was a high pressure situation from both lanes. They did not expect the MIA. They did not expect that gank. I mean, would you expect a Mordekaiser to gank?
No, not at all. And the thing is, he went through the jungle, didn't he? He didn't run through the river. So if he'd gone through the jungle, just the vision and the wards to negate that and dodge it, really powerful and really effective.
There were actually no wards for Tarek because he started with boots, so they did know that too. That's actually something Moscow 5 has been exploited for in the past. They would start with the boots Tarek and the lack of wards. Or
now that's something I want to ask you about.
Would actually be exploited.
Boots of speed Tarek.
Well, actually, really quickly, we have Alexich taking so much damage to the mid lane, dies to Celavar just in E combo and just getting poked a bit too much.
And the Flash Frost into that Frostbite and then Ignite as well. But now, Tarek boots. I seen this last night for what I would consider the first time. And time again, every time Tarek was picked up as a support, they opted to go for boots pots on him. Is that something standard now just to get those slightly more guaranteed dazzles out?
Yeah, actually. It's all about getting that stun off. If Tarek's really slow normally without it, so you pick up those boots, you move quicker, you can go ahead and get those stuns off early game when you really need to. I've seen boots pots, I've seen boots 2 wards, actually, is one of my favorites.
Boots 2 pots in a ward. That's what I was seeing over and over and over again last night.
Mm-hmm.
And
you have 2 options. You have like the normal boots 3 pots, 2 pots in a ward, or just 2 wards. And I prefer 2 wards myself because I like to play a risky support. But you can really go with whatever you think is going to be safer, whether you'll take damage in lane or not.
And Alexich picks up the early Sorcerer's Shoes, compliments of that first blood and assist. I like that, and I like the fact that if he is going to start playing this ganking game, this roaming pressure and whatnot, it can work very, very effectively. There's a lot of damage going down into Genja, though. He is going to Valkyrie away. Ignite gets dropped onto Pookie style. He's going to be falling back to the safety of his tower. Those blighted quiver ticks you can see sitting on several of the champions, and it looks as though Elite Random is leveling up his hail of arrows first. 2 points into it. 1 into his piercing arrow and the blighted quiver. So obviously going for that increased slow duration, and I think it's slightly high burst damage as well.
Mm-hmm.
But
so they really just want to...
The trade's sort of going in favor of Absolute Legends.
Yeah. There is no heal in the bot lane. There is just a lot more pressure coming out from Varus, and they have to be careful about just not getting bursted down. But aside from that, Varus will have the higher damage output.
Celavar is going to catch Alexich a little bit out of position. A very nice crystallize. He lands the the permafrost before, the frostbite before any of those frozen passive ticks landed on Alexich. He wasn't able to deal any of the bonus damage and effectively just walks away from that. So not too bad at the end of the day.
It does blow his flash, of course, and I gotta say, that was a bit of, you know what, if there's going to be a keyboard goof, let it happen there where it's not the end of the world, and it probably wouldn't have been a kill anyways. Yeah.
But what do you think stealing the raids? Now, Mordekaiser, of course, he's going to be able to kill those raids pretty quickly. It does manage to land. Now, if this Fear proc goes unlucky, Alexich is going to go down. And a really easy kill there from Veggie and Celavar in the mid lane.
Actually uses his ultimate, and I don't see it land. I think it got spell shielded, so really good spell shield coming out from Veggie. And I mean, yeah, he got caught out of position. We see this happen with Mordekaiser a lot. He goes mid and he will start dying. But eventually he will reach that point where he can just clear wave super quickly and stay safe in that mid lane. So this is kind of what you don't necessarily expect. But if it happens, it's not the end of the world. It is unfortunate to see Anivia get farmed, though, because Anivia with farm is terrifying.
Well, even with the 2 deaths on Alexich's side, he's still sitting 3 creeps ahead. So not too bad, but of course, Anivia is notoriously difficult to farm with pre-6. Really hard to land those little ice crystals on your auto attack.
He has one of the best ranges in the game, one of the worst auto attack animations, and auto attack damages actually. Yeah. 600 range is really good, but she doesn't have the follow up for it.
I've seen a couple of attack damage Anivias, and it's very funny to watch. Pretty decent there from Celavar, but every time we've looked at him, every time we've seen the damage, he opens with that Frostbite first, and now on the bottom lane, damage once again going back and forth. There goes the cleanse from Pokey style. He lands that hail of arrows, but doesn't chase it up. And once again,
and unfortunately,
constant back and forth.
Yeah. But Gosu Pepper has Ignite back up. There's a lot more pressure that can come out now that there's another Ignite to follow up. Once Gosu Pepper hits 6-2, it's going to be scary, actually, for Elite Random in that bot lane. Daring up at the top lane, actually pressuring Kiki's. Kiki's will leave strike out of there.
And while all that's going on, Diamond Prox is now being chased down by Veggie and Celiva. He was actually chasing Veggie out of his own jungle and then ran into Celiva as well. And after a couple of abilities and attacks, they were able to fall backwards.
And I'm noticing something again. Look at the CS. Once again, Moscow 5 is just kind of ahead across the board.
Well, 9 minutes in, 2-2 in terms of kills. No dragons or towers down. And, 1,000 gold ahead just on mechanical farming skills is very good. But the top lane Kikas is going to go down. And waiting, he lands a very good counterattack, delaying the inevitable, I think. Diamond Prox tanks that tower all day long. Kikas is going to try get this leap strike backwards. Maybe he's going to be able to get away, in fact. Paranoia removes the vision. Now Veggie's jumped forward, and I don't know why Kikas stuck around. He had a free ticket to safety, and he came back in, signing his own death warrant. Veggie's now in a little bit of trouble. If he'd been able to stick one-on-one, maybe been able to pick up that kill. And yeah, a little bit unfortunate there for Kikas. I thought he was going to get away.
Me too.
And he just came back in, he stuck around a few seconds longer than he should have.
Yeah, and this is where I feel that right now something is off with Absolute Legends. They could be tired. They are at DreamHack. They did just get there. They could just be, I don't know. Maybe they're just tired from gaming. But they're making a lot of weird mistakes. Like Kiki's going back there. Kiki's normally wouldn't do that. He's a solid player. And I feel that just with the CS across the board being lower than Moscow 5, with the odd engagement right there where Kiki's returned and got flashed and died when he'd actually just made an awesome escape out of that situation, there is a bit of just misplay going on here, and I kind of wonder what's causing it.
Well, you mentioned earlier, we do see pressure in this bottom lane now. It sounded like Summoner Heal had been used, actually. Now there's a lot of aggression going down. And Likran and Pakistan forced backwards. Piercing Arrow goes out, but so much damage. And Elite Random and Super Ace, they just cannot take it from the Corki Nunu combination.
It looks like what their plan with Varus to, build up Blight stacks and eventually just burst it down with the Terra combo hasn't quite worked out. It was a cool idea, but it looks like Corki is just kind of entering that phase of the game where if you try and engage him, he will burst you down.
So, yeah, it's looking scary for Absolute Legends. I don't want to use the word snowball because it's not that intense. Ultimate comes out from Alexich in the middle as well. He throws out that Children of the Grave on a fairly full health Saliva. Rebirth is still available, so I didn't actually see how that engage happened. But, you mentioned...
I think it was just a sustain.
Oh, right, for the Revolver, just to get those HP back.
It also gives back HP from just using it normally. But, I think he's just kind of scared of an heavy in the mid lane, which Celebar has been pretty scary so far.
And you mentioned it now, Absolute Legends, they're at the LAN, they're outside of their comfort zone, practicing for this big event. And we looked at the match history for Pakistan, and he had several losses in the custom game. So we're going to assume that they maybe had some scrims that haven't gone their way. And losing your confidence, being out of your comfort zone, it's a bit difficult to get into the groove, but it's something that they need to come to grips with ahead of a weekend of LAN games.
They can still come back in this game. They're not out of it yet. They just need to make sure they get just the emotion back.
We do see some pressure on this top lane. Is Veggie and Kikas going to commit to this dive? The Fear proc pushes Darien right into them. Exhaust goes out, but a little bit of miscommunication. Neither of the champions have actually dived forward. Paranoia gets used. The compliments of just too much turret damage. Veggie is forced backwards, and once again we see just a little bit of what appeared to be miscommunication. Now Veggie's sticking around. Is Diamond Prox going to flash and impale? The spell shield was there, and it actually didn't happen. There goes the flash. It sounded like the impale was spell shielded as well, in fact. So once again, a very nice one. I will rewind that double kill for the bottom lane, but Kikas, he's going to pick up one in the top lane. Manages to get that red buff as well. So that's going to help him against Darien. We'll see if he's going to be able to convert this into a kill. Equilibrium Strike's going to hold him in place for a few seconds. One for that leap into Empower. Is he in range, though? Is he in range? That's the question. Kikas, maybe not going to be able to do that one. So I think I'm going to rewind for that double kill on the bot lane.
I will watch on live to make sure if any action does happen. We do not fast forward past it.
And it just looked as though it was a very aggressive dive. Gosu Pepper and Genja both practically full health. They managed to rush it down and chase the defending Pakistan and Super Ace for fairly easy kill, to be honest. So I'm on directed camera and in fast forward mode, catching up to real time. What have we missed, Studio?
Not a whole lot. We did see Aurelia ult used to farm, so nothing really. And I feel that Moscow 5, they're getting a significant advantage just through the lane, just through that CS. It's a 3,000 gold difference 13 minutes in, just almost through farm.
Oh, we do see now pressure in this middle lane. Alexic is pushing forward. The Igniting Children of the Grave is going to egg Saliva. But it's not going to be enough to kill the chicken because, unfortunately, you need to kill it twice.
And of course, when you do get egged as an Nivea, it actually clears all debuffs on you, so that Ignite falls off, the Children of the Grave falls off.
So it doesn't carry on ticking over. And I always make a joke whenever I see a Nivea's in play. I say, League of Legends have answered the question. What came first, the chicken or the egg? It's the chicken, because a Nivea needs to go down before the egg gets brought up.
I can respect that joke.
So now we see another big engagement on this bottom line. This time round, 3 versus 4. Moscow 5 should be able to come out superbly ahead. Veggie's going to be the first one to go down. Diamond Prox is tanking the turret. He takes 1 hit and then impales Super Ace backwards. Wants to be Scorpion just for a couple of seconds. Get over here. Pulls Taric and the Gem Knight gets taken down.
He's not going to glimmer for a few seconds now as he respawns.
No, unfortunately not, but it's going to now signal Dragon, and you got to feel Absolute Legends, there's not a lot that they can do to come back from this at the moment. You know, they've been a little bit out of it. Their playstyle hasn't been phenomenally great. Saliva does not have Rebirth available, so if Moscow 5 continue with this fight, it may turn out very, very well for them. And damage has gone on Absolute 0, only dealing a little bit of DPS to Kikis, and they're still sticking to this. No one has gone down yet. Everyone's low on health, low on mana. Ghost of Pepper may go down. Piercing Arrow doesn't manage to pick it up, though. And he eventually gets away.
So the Dragon did... Oh, Darien might get picked off in this, actually.
Oh, great Leap Strike coming out from Kickers. That was enough to actually pick up the kill. Now they've turned their attention to Alexic. He was trying so hard to kill the birdie of Saliva. And unfortunately, he just goes down himself.
Okay, now, that was great. They need to start doing something with this, though. They need to try and take advantage of the fact that they just got a few kills. Unfortunately, Genja is such a beast right now. He's level 10 versus a level 7, barely hit 8 Varus, actually. Looking at the items he has, he almost has a Triforce, 2 Doran's Blade versus just the triple Dorans and Berserker Greaves on Pookie style. So that's where they have to try and get the farm. They have to get CS onto Varus, try and get him back into this game. He needs something. And the kills are really nice. They need to try and maybe just pressure and see if they can somehow get Genja out of that bot lane and Pookie style just to get some free farm.
I also don't think that the champion itself, Varius, it's a little bit more of a unique pick. Let's put it that way. You know, he's not at the same strength as a Corki. He doesn't scale as effectively, and you've seen it already. He's just been a little bit, not crushed, but really defeated in this bottom lane. You know, 0 to 40 CS behind. The champion itself may not be at the same level that it needs to be at this level of play.
And I mean, like, subtle differences can really make a huge difference here. I think Varus, it's really hard to tell how he scales because he doesn't have the common scaling. You're right. Like, he doesn't have, well, this just makes me do more damage normally. He has the Blight stacks. He has a bunch of cool abilities and a passive that actually really increases his damage, but getting the auto attack speed from Varus does first require that kill to happen. And these fights, the way they've been going down, Varus is dying before really anybody else does.
And I feel, you know what, Varus could actually do pretty well with the likes of a Nunu in lane. You know, consider that the Blighted Quiver stacks, you consider his passive and Blood Boil, it really could help him out, you know, potentially. But unfortunately, he doesn't have that champion, and we do see Veggie sitting up. Paranoia is not available off cooldown. And there's a little bit of time, 39 seconds on that one, so I don't think he's going to be camping that bottom lane for too long. Difficult to gank a Corki without Paranoia.
And the unfortunate thing about that Nunu actually is he's also incredibly effective against Varus himself. So kind of goes both ways. Unfortunately, it's not going very well for Varus in the end.
7-5 is your kill score. 4,000 gold difference between the two teams at the moment. You know, is it split even in gold in terms of the mid lanes? Top lane is bang on even as well. Bottom lane, however, 3,700 to the 6,000 gold on Genja. Concentrated gold is what matters, and right now Genja is really concentrating that gold.
Genja concentrating hard to keep up his farm, and I mean, that's good play coming out of Genja, and this is just something that right now they have to deal with, and here they go.
And Paranoia is going to dive all the way forward. They're going to keep their pressure on Gosu Pepper. No fear proc just yet, unfortunately. Unspeakable Horror not available on cooldown. It was used very early on. And look at the damage going down. That was a 3 versus 2, which Genja looks like he may be able to come out ahead of. The healing goes down. One more auto attack is down 130 HP. He manages to get away. Piercing Arrow is lined up. Is it going to be able to deal anything? No, unfortunately not. But now Alexic has moved in. Ignite goes down. Children of the Grave and one Mace of Spades. Goodbye Pucky style. With that Ghost, if Dragon comes up, it's going to make life a little bit easier to pick that one up. And great positioning and awareness there from Alexic to know his team was going down, to know the fight was going on, and even more so, to make his way down there and really pick up a very easy kill. Kikis and Darian going 1-to-1 in the top lane. Darian is going to come out better in this regard, or maybe not, in fact. The counter-attack and the Empower, too strong in conjunction with that lifesteal from the Cutlass. I'm going to do a slow motion replay on that one, in fact. So I've hit one backspace. Look at the hit points on Kikis. We're now in super slow-mo, down to 477, 350. Now they're Darian, 500, 400, 140 hit points. The Empower, auto attack, and I think that might have even been a leap strike. Yes, it was. So powerful from Kikis.
That is awesome. That is actually a really important kill. Kikis holding his own in the top lane, and they need to try to just get that advantage across the map. Veggie picking up an Oracles. This is a good idea. They need to start making things happen. And with wards everywhere for Moscow 5, that's not going to happen. They're just not going to have that vision. They're not going to get anything done if they can't go anywhere without being spotted. So killing these wards will get him off that cooldown. Like, they will no longer be dependent on Veggie's cooldown to do anything. And I feel that they're moving in the right direction. They're still in a really kind of awkward position because they do have the mid and top doing well, but it's hard to actually make bot lane do consistently well against that really strong combination. And they can come back, but they need to play really well right now. We do have a gank coming in the top lane.
I'm jumping to live. Now we are looking in this top lane. Diamond Prox has come in. There goes the Impale. Feel my sting. Kikis manages to leap strike and then flash away. Another flash into Blade Search from Darren is going to actually secure the kill. And for a moment, for a brief moment, I thought maybe we're going to see a getaway this time around. And while all that's going on, a kill goes down in the bottom lane once again. The aggression from Gosu Pepper and Genja is just too strong. Gosu Pepper is going to lose his life this time. Got a 1-for-1 exchange. Support for... is that support for carry?
Support for carry, yeah.
Yeah, support for carry. You don't really mind doing that. Celeber is now running backwards. Rebirth is available. But a lot of aggression coming out from both sides. The problem is Absolute Legends cannot afford to keep trading evenly. They need to come out ahead. Otherwise, they're just going to fall further and further behind.
I mean, right now... Yeah, it's weird right now. I don't know what they should do.
Celeber is now going to get dived on. Blade Surge as well as that Equilibrium Strike in the background. There's going to egg him. Paranoia onto Darian. That's going to actually pick up the kill. Now they're going to turn their attention to Genja. 1 kill for Dragon. That's a fair exchange. The Dustbringer does land. Veggie moves forward now. Dragon has started to regen that health just ever so slightly. And he's going to reset very soon. I think Celeber may have actually pulled the aggro and a very nice auto attack into Hail of Arrows. Means that Absolute Legends actually pull ahead. Just as we say, that's what they need to do. And if they can pick up this Dragon, it's going to start closing it even more. Another Impale from Diamond Prox, in fact. That auto attack of his is going to be reducing the cooldowns. Kikis does pick up the kill onto Alexic. I actually completely missed that one on camera. And everybody's fighting everywhere.
This is cool. You know why? Because we did see Genja get picked off, and that's what mattered. Genja was the guy who was far ahead for Moscow 5. Everybody else was more or less equal, except for Varus. So, picking off Genja, just pushing the fight, and just engaging this is what they need to do. There we go. That's that idea. Kill Genja. Take him down, and you have an equal fight. You have a fight where you will be doing well just because you have good characters and you are not in a bad position. The gold is on Genja. The gold difference now, only 3,000 gold. They brought it down quite a bit. And frankly, they've been actually kind of at a static 4,000 gold for a long time now. So even though they've been behind, the gold difference isn't growing, and that matters because it means that Moscow 5 isn't getting farther ahead. They're ahead, but they're not too far ahead at this point.
And that evens up the kill score, and map-wise, not a single tower down at 22 minutes. So it shows you just how long this laning phase has been dragged out.
And I feel that once we do see Roman on the map, just look at the vision for Moscow 5. They have one ward.
And we do see a bait going on in this top lane. Kickers is fighting Darien, trying to set out. The Duskbringer does land. The leap strike into the Empowerers is going to happen. Darien ignites Kickers, but no further dive means nobody's going to die. And that was nice from Veggie and from Kickers. It was, you could see the calling, you could see that no fall back. Is Diamond Prox going to be able to get an Impale? And it looks like a Shurelier's Reverie has been popped. But he isn't going to chase him while all that's going on. Fight in the bottom lane. Chain of Corruption's going to hold Gosu Pepper in place and allow Saliva and Pucky Style to easily kill the Yeti monster.
Okay, and this is good. Absolute Legends, they brought down Salivar. They've been pressuring across the map, and it's kind of working. Only a 2,000 gold difference now. They're closing that gap. If they do surpass Corki, that's going to be really strong for them. It's going to look really good for them. Because it might be like last game where Absolute Legends was ahead, they eventually fell behind, and they lost the game.
And this is exactly what Fnatic did last night to defeat Moscow 5. They camped bottom lane, they camped Genja over and over and over, going for those kills, trying to shut him down, prevent him getting farm, and prevent him picking up kills. Now, it's a little bit late in the game to say that the same principle applies, but if they can carry on pushing it down, and take a look at this, AL putting some damage into this inner turret. Alexic actually picking a fight with Veggie and putting a lot of DPS down. Children of the Graves is on him, 360, 320. I don't know if that's going to be enough to kill him, though. Halfway through the proc, 200, that's not going to be enough to secure the kill. You wish you had a Requiem when you see something like that.
Well, not against a Nocturne. You would just shield that, actually.
Touche. So Genja manages to eat a Dazzle to the face. There goes the Hailstorm. Saliva's now joined the party. Diamond Prox does have Impale available. He's going to hold Saliva in place, and that's going to be a dead Anivia. And they just didn't have the burst to really kill Diamond Prox or Genja there before he was able to Valkyrie away.
And Salivar picking up that Warmog's armor. A huge pickup now because it's going to be so much difficult to burst through that egg and burst through the rest of Anivia's HP. He's in a good spot right now. He's where Anivia really starts to pick up and get completely insane.
In terms of scaling into the mid into the late game, we know that Jax is going to scale very hard. We know that Anivia is going to scale pretty well, pretty effectively as well. Varus, maybe not so much as Corki, but the longer this game goes on, which team composition do you think is stronger? Although while we're talking about that, Paranoia goes up, but that's just to save Veggie's life. He actually dives forward onto Darien, manages to get the Umbra Blades passive off, but not much more than that. And a bunch of abilities used, but no kills happening.
I feel that, as odd as it sounds, the fact that Varus is behind is actually bad for Moscow 5 for later team fights, because they want to get a good Mordekaiser Ghost. If they can get one on Jax, that will also be effective, but you normally want someone with range, just because it's easier to land auto attacks, especially with a minion, which is going to be hard to control. So, as odd as it sounds, as the late game scales for Absolute Legends, it will also scale for Moscow 5. Right now, though, Genja's doing really well, Darien's doing really well. So those are two big threats that entering the late game will be terrifying. But so is Anivia, so is Jax. It's actually pretty balanced, and I don't know who's going to be more effective. I don't know how Skarn really factors into this, just because he's fallen out of favor so much lately.
And we do need to point out as well that the gold graph is set at that 4,000 gold, has been there for the better part of the last 7-8 minutes. So they've slowed down that rot that was happening. They've slowed down that snowball that Moscow 5 was trying to put in place. And gold difference, Varus now on 7,000 gold to the 9,300 of Corki. 2,300 difference. But he is getting closer to finishing those items. He has an Infinity Edge finally. So his damage has gone up, and once he picks up that Zeal or the Phantom Dancer, it's going to help him a lot. And maybe that might just be what Absolute Legends need to win these team fights.
And this is actually a really good time for AL to try and engage into a team fight, because Corki doesn't have his own Infinity Edge yet. He does have Triforce, he does have that BF sword, but the item gap is not as big as it used to be. So right now, we will see Varus do comparable damage. We actually have the engagement onto Darien.
And there goes the flash into the Chain of Corruption. A very nice Crystallize. They are going to pick up the kill into Darien. Very nicely played from Absolute Legends. Great call and great coordination there. They've started Baron buff. It's down to 9,000 hit points. You can see the hits on the bottom left-hand side of your screen there. So we'll see if Moscow 5 are going to decide to try this one. They may just try exchange Baron for a couple of towers. And I think that might just be what Absolute Legends need. The stats bonus that it's going to give them. Maybe he's going to just balance out that gold difference, pull them closer into this game. Only 2k difference, and they've got Exalted Baron Nashor buff. Paranoia is going to be used onto Diamond Prox. Veggie's now running forward, and a very long-range Fear proc there. Moscow 5 don't pick up any towers, don't pick up any map objectives, and AL come away with a kill and Baron.
I gotta say, AL's, they've come back. Like, their plays have gotten better, their engagements are better. Veggie's actually kind of in a scary position right now.
Taking some damage. He uses that Duskbringer, maybe able to Spell Shield one of these damages if he can. Spell Shield is available. He's going to need to use it. Doesn't need to. He managed to juke that very last Missile Barrage.
No phage procs actually for Genja. Really unfortunate because that would have most likely been a kill had there been one Triforce slow applied.
Yeah, just to hold him in place for that second longer. Line up the Phosphorus Bomb with a Missile Barrage. And potentially another Dragon going the way of Moscow 5. I've lost track of it. I think it's 2-3 now? This game?
Not quite. I want to say 3-1.
3-1. Alright, so 1 in favor of AbsoluteLegends. Now Silver maybe being caught out, taking a lot of damage and a great crystallized wall. Because of course Genja had opened with that Valkyrie, he wasn't able to jump over the crystal wall and carry on chasing. But nice awareness, nice game sense to use that ability.
And of course actually Moscow 5 has to retreat. Genja has no mana, and we're going to see the push come down from AbsoluteLegends. This is what you do with Baron. You start taking towers, you take out the outer 3. Those are the easiest in the game to take, and from then you move on. You try and pressure mid, try and poke down, and especially with Baron buff. This is pretty formulaic, and they have a great team to do it. And if you can catch someone out with that wall, they can really engage well.
Especially if they use the Crystallize effectively like that. The Flash Frost does land, followed up by the Dazzle. Alexic gets blown up before that fight can even begin. But now they've caught Kickers in and amongst that Impale. They put a lot of damage onto him. He's forced to flash away, so he's not going to be a competitor in this fight anymore. And Veggie goes down in exchange. So Alexic for Veggie. What I was trying to say, that Crystallize was really, really powerful if they can use it to zone out Moscow 5. Poke down the tower and keep poking down the tower, you know. That's really what they should try and do. They were able to pick up the kill, but unfortunately, Impale is just too strong, and not having Kickus in for the fight, it just... AbsoluteLegends cannot pick a fight without having both Jax and Varus there.
They need his damage.
So
they are using that wall to zone.
Yep, that's exactly what they need to. So the tower should go down. There's no Impale coming out from Diamond Procs. Varus is able to stay on the tower for long enough to pick up the kill. Alex is back in just a few seconds. Now we're going to see whether or not they're actually going to commit to this fight, but... very, very good push from AbsoluteLegends. They've actually now balanced out that gold graph, you know, as close as it's going to be at the moment, and pulled themselves back into this game.
I will say Moscow 5 not a team, though, that to give up losing easily. If they do fall behind, they will do everything it takes to come back into the game. That is not what they want to do, though. Yeah. Darian does not want to try and engage fights that are at best 1v3.
Yeah, burns his flash to get away. Their Kickus manages to jump in. Counterattack's going to be available in a couple of seconds, and we know Darian's not going to be able to flash away. Manages to land a very great counterattack. Now the pressure's on for Moscow 5. Paranoia is going to be diving onto Alexic, and he manages to flash over the trees. Crystallized wall there. Did block out the exit, but having the flash available, of course, no tower there means Kickus is going to stay on this fight. Varus and Kickus staying there. They pick up the kill onto the AP mid. And this is going to be an inhibitor, and AbsoluteLegends pulling themselves back into this game after 25 minutes of being behind.
They're almost in the goal lead. They're going to be able to take one of these turrets out, it seems, and put him so close.
And look at the damage now, once again, sticking onto Diamond Procs. That Flash Frost lands as well. Followed up by the counterattack. Absolute zero from Gosu Pepper in the background, hitting absolutely no one, unfortunately. Corki is taking, or putting so much damage onto Veggie. The auto attack and long-range missile barrage picks up that kill. The gold graph is now completely even. Counterattack is primed. Nobody in range of the leap strike though, so Kick is unfortunately not able to lock anybody up. And AbsoluteLegends trading a kill for the inhibitor, and a couple of kills themselves actually. Fair trade any day of the week.
Gold actually briefly dead even there. So AL, they've really pulled themselves together. I don't know what they did. I don't know if they drank something, if they chanted as a team, but they've really come back into this game. They're looking good to take a game 3. Even though gold is totally equal, it's the fact that they've actually come back from being so far behind. It's the fact that they've taken down that Nexus turret. They're looking good. We see a lot of weird engagements going on for Moscow 5, like Darian and Diamond Procs being caught out, and AbsoluteLegends, they're just taking care of it. They are seeing any mistake Moscow 5 makes and just punishing it, which is what they did before and it's what they need to keep doing. And
look at the gold difference now. Varus, 10,300 to 11,700, closing the gap on Genja's Corki. And you know, the more powerful he gets, the more effective those blighted quivers are going to become, and the more pain that piercing arrow can be used from the max range. If they're able to get another good engagement like they've been doing, you know, that crystallize into Flash Frost, into Counter Strike. Is it Counter Strike or Counter Attack? Yeah, Counter Strike. Really, really effective. And of course, you've got the Chain of Corruption. So there's a lot of hard, reliable CC from AbsoluteLegends, and now that they're sieging these towers and working together as a 5-man unit, that's really what's turned the game around for them.
hmm And actually, about the CC, like talking about the CC, what we had at level 1 for a level 1 invade was going to be Aurelia stun. And they still don't have any CC besides that, except for Skarner's Impale. Like, there is no control on Moscow 5, and it's really hurting them in team fights. This is not quite the same team that Absolute Legends had last game, but it is a game that, or a team that is once again not that good at team fighting. So every time they get into a team fight, they don't do a lot necessarily.
They rely a lot
Like-
on that crystallize. Every time you've seen these engagements going well for them in the last few minutes, it's because the crystallized wall has been used effectively, and the team is committed as a 5-man unit on somebody who's been affected.
And Absolute doesn't have anything to deal with Crystallize. They can, I guess, use Aurelia's Blade Search to get through it, but that's about it. Every Valkyrie, I guess, too, but there is no consistent way to get across that wall to deal with it.
So great pick now. We're going to see if this engage is actually going to come out. Veggie is wearing that Oracle's Elixir, so Pink are running around, but look at the split maneuver coming out from Moscow 5. I'm not sure if this works out. Paranoia gets used. So Alexich is trying to put damage down onto Pucky style, but unfortunately, you know, running headfirst into a 5-man AL, it isn't going to end well. Veggie now exhausts Gosu Pepe. He's putting a lot of DPS down into him. Kikas jumps forward with that leap strike. Now they've turned their attention at a very nice crystallized wall. Holds to everybody in place, but Valkyrie away from Genja. Neat Pucky style is trying to stay in the fights as long as he can, but his hit points are very, very low. Diamond Prox is going to impale him and drag him backwards. Those crystal slashes are going on. He's going to be able to secure that kill. Genja does get away in the background. At the same time, Super Ace is trying to 1v1 Diamond Prox. Diamond Prox is getting the better of him in that fight. And a 2-for-2 exchange, but it's going to allow Absolute Legends to pick up one tower in the top lane themselves. Their creeps pick up the tower in the bottom lane, and they have super creeps bashing on the Nexus towers. You know, they can afford to trade like that because they're coming out with gold, they're coming out with map control, and it's just helping them secure game number 2.
Actually, their Nexus Tower down to half HP. The more time they spend fighting and the less time Moscow 5 spends defending is just going to be better for Absolute Legends. So you're right, a 2-for-2 exchange is great for them because they take a tower, they damage mid tower, and they actually take up bottom with creeps, like you said, which, I mean, normally that wouldn't happen. Normally, Moscow 5 would just show up, clean up that creep wave, suck up all that gold like a vacuum cleaner, and now, well, they do get that gold in the end, but, well, Absolute Legends get something in that exchange.
And the thing that I'm afraid of as well, whenever I watch those engagements, those split engages, they never really work. You know, you could see Moscow 5, there was 3 coming from the top lane, 2 coming from behind from that tri-bush area, and you're running 2 versus 5. If a coordinated team decides to pick one target, they're going to blow somebody up. And that was a perfect example of it. You know, Alexich was trying to focus down a Pucky style, and if Moscow 5 were a little bit closer, maybe they could have bursted him down and stayed in that fight, but unfortunately it wasn't to be. Another nice crystallizer is going to hold out a couple of M5 members from this fight, but Baron is still going down in the background. Nocturne and Jax trying their best to take out as quickly as they can. And this is going to be the next big engagement. Flash Frost does get blocked. Glacial Storm is out. Now Kikas has jumped into the middle of everybody. Randian's Ohm has been popped. The counter-strike stuns a whole number of members. Kikas is going to be the first one to fall for Absolute Legends. In reply, though, Genja goes down. Now Venchi's the second one to fall. Double kill for Genja. One more for Darian now. So it's 2-for-1 exchange, or 3-for-1 rather. And they're going to be carrying on chasing down. This has gone horribly wrong for Absolute Legends. Not landing that Flash Frost meant they couldn't burst anybody down. Saliva, with all those hit points, is going to survive a very long time. But losing only Corki for a Team Ace and Baron, Moscow 5 are not out of this game just yet.
I think Absolute Legends should just stop going to Baron. It has not worked out well for them in the past. That was an odd engagement because, like you said, the Flash Frost didn't land. And Genja, if you watched him in that fight, all he did was sit there and auto-attack. He did try to Valkyrie at the very last second to get away from Nocturne, but he was just in the fight, and we had a weird split coming in from Absolute Legends. We had Kiki's in the entire enemy team trying to 1v more or less 5, but 1v1 down Genja, and the entire process. Once Kiki's was down, Genja just got enough damage before he died for that fight to turn over and end up in Absolute Legends' favor. So a big dive coming out into Genja left the rest of AL out of position, and those divers died too quickly.
And of course, when you look at the champions in the setup as well, you know, all of that focus, all of that pressure onto Genja, they tried to kill him, they weren't able to do so. It just allowed Mordekaiser, Aurelia, and Skarner to just continually bash away. They don't have the highest, you know, hugest DPS in the game, but you let them run free for a couple of seconds, and you've seen how much hit or how high their hit points were when they came out of that fight. They were just on free reign.
Alexich needs to die. So if they don't burst him down, He gets that Q, he gets that EF, he gets the ultimate off, and then if the Ghost survives, my god, they just get murdered. But like, they've been blowing him up instantly in every fight, catching him out of position, getting into these weird 2v5s where Moscow 5 is clearly not in favor, and that's been great for Absolute Legends. But now that that hasn't happened, M5, they weren't behind in gold, and they've really showed that they're still in this. So we got a game here.
There's definitely something we need to point out. 40 minutes in, Gosu is still rocking the boots 1. Still hasn't upgraded those. He does have a Randian's Omen completed, as does Skarner, as does Alexic. So triple Randians really trying to counteract that attack speed of Nocturne, Varus, and Jax. And you know, when you look and you consider they're all attack speed champions, it makes perfect sense.
I like that quite a bit, actually, because it's all Corki protection. And keeping Corki alive, keeping him in this game, like we said before, he doesn't have, or he has better scaling than Varus does. And if they can keep Corki in a good position in fights and keep him alive, they will have something to deal with Anivia, something to just win the exchange. And it looks like we have Guardian Angel being built onto Aurelia. I'm not sure what's being built on Nunu. He does have a Chain Vest, though.
We'll have to see what that upgrades into. But we do have the Quicksilver Sash both on Kikis and onto Pucky Styles Varus. Baron buff is about halfway through, a little bit over halfway, so that's going to be pushing down. And with having their inhibitor backup, Moscow 5 have a little bit of freedom to move around the map, a little bit of freedom to move up and try push down some lanes, but they've got to be a little bit scared of a potential backdoor. You know, Varus, Jax, and Nocturne, they're all able to really take out inhibitors or towers very quickly. So if Absolute Legends feel that they're that desperate, they could potentially leave, you know, a 4-man to defend with Anivia, Crystallize, and her ultimate, you know, to clear out the waves and the creeps, and just try to let somebody maybe backdoor an inhibitor.
What they could actually do, and this would actually win the game, have one person defend, and then have 4 people just try and backdoor the inhibitor, backdoor that tower, and the entire point of that one person defending is just to make sure the enemy team doesn't back off easily. So if they prevent the blue pills, they could just, you know, stop that engagement from happening at the base, and they can win the game through that. It's a really risky play, though, so you don't see it happen very often. And when it does, it's usually as a last-ditch effort in those long 90-minute games where nobody has any towers up anymore. But I don't think we'll see that. I think we'll just kind of see some defensive play from AL. They're not likely to take big risks like that. They don't normally, actually.
And let's look at the itemization. You know, we pointed out a few seconds ago, but let's compare directly now. The jungler Veggie, he's got Aegis of the Legion, Merc Treads, and a Wriggle's Lantern, in comparison to Aegis, Randians, and Shirelia's Reverie. You know, the amount of utility and benefits and bonuses that Skarner is giving his team is leaps and bounds ahead of what Nocturne's going to be able to be doing.
Nocturne does normally need to play a bit more greedy because of his ultimate and the fact that he will be in the enemy team. At the same time, though, Diamond Proc just has a huge gold lead. So he has that advantage. He's been able to use it to go ahead and get that Reverie, get the Randuins. And while Nocturne does have a Wriggles and does have a slightly different item build, he just doesn't have the same moolah to actually pick up a Reverie, an item like that. DFG just finished on Alexic. That's actually huge. The additional nuke will allow him to burst down pretty much anybody from full HP to 0.
And look at the gold difference once again. You know, we're back up to a 9,000, 10,000 gold lead. Compliments of those super creeps, Baron buff, you know, a couple of... it's mostly just farming, though, you know, having the waves pushing their lanes. They're still 4 towers down, but they've got a huge gold lead. And, you know, yes, admittedly, it gets less and less effective the longer the game goes on. But it shows that even though they're behind, or were behind, we're on a little bit of the back foot, they're able to recuperate themselves and pull themselves back into this game.
Mm-hmm. And that gold lead is going to be the difference in utility between Nocturne and Skarner. And I don't know, I'm feeling kind of scared for AL again. Moscow 5 just have this ability to make a massive gold lead appear out of nowhere. They just are so good at farming creeps that even though they lose, you know, a Nexus turret and inhibitor, they just say, all right, we're going to get pushed in. Let's just farm everything up instead. Can
Moscow 5 take out towers and inhibitors quickly? I mean, if Genja stays alive, yeah, maybe Skarner as well. Mordekaiser to a lesser extent, you know, if he's got Blood Boil maybe. But, you know, if they win a team fight and they come ahead, you know, say 3v3 exchange or, you know, 4v2, whatever the story is, if they don't have maybe Genja alive, it's going to be hard-pressed to push down the inhibitor turrets. Whereas if Absolute Legends come out ahead, they could be able to just, you know, take out the inhibitor, tank the turret, and pick up a victory.
The pushing potential for Moscow 5 isn't there. We have Selivar, who can just kind of stop pushes on his own in general, but then you have to realize that you're right, only Genja can do a lot of damage to towers. Alexich has to get close. There is a bit on Skarner, but he doesn't have any offensive items. So the damage just isn't there, and any sort of push is going to have to be actually you have to be from getting someone else caught out. So Poogie Style has to die, maybe Sulliver has to die. Actually, Sulliver dying is the most important in that exchange about getting turrets, because Anivia's a pain to push against.
Yeah.
So they have to get down Sulliver somehow.
And it's going to make life a lot more difficult for Absolute Legends when you consider Genja has a Guardian's Angel. Guardian's Angel is complete and sitting there, and Sulliver getting very, very close to that final build. Deathcap, Blasting Wand, the Archangel Staff, sorry, as well as a maxed out Warmogs. He's a very, very scary Cryo Chicken, and no, we have a disconnect from Darien. That is huge. That is really, really frustrating. And I hope we don't see AL pushing down a 4-man Moscow 5.
I mean, right now, AL doesn't know about the disconnect.
Yeah.
They have no idea about it. If they do, like, if they go for a Baron play, for example, it's not because they're trying to be rude. It's because they didn't know. And actually, Darien reconnects. AL doesn't know Darien's back at base. I do not feel they will go for Baron, though, just because it has not worked out for them in the past. Well, 2 Baron fights.
And the delay, the stall on there may cost them, because Darien flashed over the wall to get into the fight as quickly as possible. Just as you think something's going to happen. Crystallize doesn't catch anybody behind the wall. Flash Frost also misses, and now we see Absolute Legends a little bit out of position. Look at the damage onto Elite Random. He's removed from the fight before he can even begin. Randian's Omen 1 has been popped. Chain of Corruption lands onto Alexich. He manages to pick up the first kill onto Jax from that top lane. Veggie's going to be the second one to fall. Nivea does manage to pick up a kill onto Alexich in the background, so it's 2 for 1. But Celeber is going to go down from this one. And huge, huge fight from Moscow 5. Like we mentioned, if they can come out ahead strongly and with Genja, that's what they need to take towers, and I think this is going to be an inhibitor.
This will be an inhibitor for sure. Actually, if they'd killed Pookie Style, this would be more or less game. This actually still might be game, but we do see the retreat on Darien. I do feel they'll just go ahead and come back in a bit. That was a huge misstep from Pookie Style. Like you said, he was out of position. He walked in, led his entire team, and because of that, we had just a quick dive onto him. He did survive, but so much was blown to protect him. So much was blown by him just to get away. He wasn't doing auto attack damage because he had to be away from the fight. And one misstep like that is what turns games like this. But here comes a Baron attempt. If we do see a steal come out, this could be huge.
And of course, the amount of the time that Alexich actually stayed alive was hugely impressive as well. Jumped in and amongst everybody, got dropped super, super low. But that shield of his, so effective and blocked a lot more damage. And, you know, just having that extra 1 or 2 auto attacks onto Alexich, it bought the rest of Moscow 5 all the time in the world to clear out the team. And, you know, what was it, a 3-for-1 exchange at the end of the day? And Inhibitor and Baron, which is on 4 out of the 5 members.
The only person who doesn't have it is Alexich, which it would actually be really nice to have it on, but still, the idea is there. Absolute Legends, they're behind again, and I don't know if they can come back again. There's a bit of a pattern here.
Yep.
I feel with good positioning, they could have won that fight. They did not have good positioning, though. And now they're down in Nexus. We do have Baron on Moscow 5. We might just see them go ahead and start diving turrets. Like, those inhibitor turrets aren't going to do a whole lot of defense, especially because flashes are down for more or less everybody in the game right now. But that's going to be more important for the people who are trying to escape dives.
14,000 gold lead. 6 turrets, 8 turrets, 6 turrets for Moscow 5, 8 turrets for Absolute Legends. And look at the kill score for Moscow 5. Genja, 13-2-4. He now also has a Bloodthirster completed. That is as full as Corky's going to get, and I think that Bloodthirst is fully stacked as well. Yes, it is.
The only thing Corky could do now is sell his Mercury Treads for an item. I don't think he'll do that. Actually, the Mercury Tread's kind of a cool pickup. I think it's just for the CC, not going for a Quicksilver Sash, which you normally see on a carry. So just deciding to try and, toe the line with that Merc Tread instead of QSS. And right now, I mean, Moscow 5, they're just kind of reaching the end of the game. If we do see Absolute Legends stall out for another maybe 10 or 15 minutes, they might just come back in terms of farm because Genja can't get any fatter. But it's going to be tricky. Alexich at 400 CS, Genja at 397. Oh my god, Sulliver at 400
and
himself.
Look at all of the auras. Alexich, Randian's Omen, as well as the Abyssal Scepter. Then you've got Shurelia's, Randian's, and Aegis of the Legion. Then you've got another Randian's Omen, Frozen Heart, as well as Zeke's Herald. And sitting on Aurelia at the moment, Frozen Heart and the Warden's Mail, so that's eventually going to become a Randian's Omen as well. So high in terms of team utility and team support itemization from Moscow 5. And it really shows in these big team fights.
Only the lockout of the Iron Solari and Soul Shroud are missing, and neither of those would be that good. We actually have Engage starting.
And Diamond Prox takes a lot of damage from Celiva there. He eats a Deathfire Grasp to the face, as well as a little of damage from that Flash Frost and Frostbite. But Kikis is now the one that's caught out of position. He's going to get shut down before the fight. The real fight has begun. Veggie was picking a battle in the background, gets impaled from Diamond Prox. And I think that's GG no re. Genja now looking to pick up the kill, maybe even under the fountain. 1 or 2 more attacks, maybe even able to do it. Just so much damage from Moscow 5. Kikis not with his team, sitting in that top lane tower. And Moscow 5 picking up the victory 2-0 in today's qualifier.
Moscow 5 going to advance with a well-earned victory. A great game coming out from AbsoluteLegends. They did lose in the end, but they came back so much harder than I felt they would have at the beginning of this game, showing that they do have what it takes to almost make it.